Hello again, welcome back to Asgard, and welcome back to Enigmatica 2 Expert. So it has been a little while since the last video, of course. Which, if you're on the Discord, I mentioned with everything going on, we've had to homeschool our son, which has taken... He has like an internet class thing, but they only do like 30 minutes of classroom, I guess, a day, and then most of it's online work that we have to help and kind of monitor him as he does that. So it's been a very busy year, but now with Christmas coming up, of course, their school has ended, and they're supposed to go back to school in January, so that should free up a lot of time because it was like 7 hours a day that we were doing schoolwork and stuff. So we are back on Enigmatica and working on finishing up a speed build that I had started a bit back, where we're going to be speed building out wall sections. Now it's going to be a little bit shorter of a video as far as like time length, but it's actually massive as far as footage. Altogether, I ended up having about 20 hours of footage, which a lot of it is 60 times or more speed that you guys are going to be watching, because it's just speed building out these wall sections. Mainly the interior wall sections and the top. We're not really working on the exterior just yet for those walls, and we're going to be cleaning up a couple things that need cleaning up around the base, and then getting ready. Kind of the reason we're speed building out these wall sections is in the next episode I want to set up our kind of ender fluid creation, so that we can work on the big magic building and start speed building out a bit of that in a later episode. But next episode will be ender fluid and then speed building out the building that's going to house that, I think. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get into the speed build, and then I'll catch back up with you guys at the end of the episode, and we'll go over kind of everything that we worked on. I will say that some of this building could be done using something like building gadgets, or something like, an auto builder, RF tools, something to that effect. I'm personally not a big fan of those. If I want to build something, I want to build it. I don't want to have something auto build it for me. That's one of my big complaints about modded, is it takes a lot of the play out of the player's hand and makes everything just automatic, and I'm not crazy about that. So we are going to actually be building these wall segments, and of course the big time sink comes into all the architecture craft and little detail things, chisels and bits, and so on. Which really, building gadgets and stuff don't handle those that well anyways, in my experience. So having it auto build out wall segments, it's not going to save a ton of time realistically anyways. So anyways, let's go ahead and get into the speed build, and then, like I said, I'll catch back up with you guys at the end. So like I said, we're going to be speed building out wall sections today. For most of the episode. The back end, we are going to build, work on a couple small things. One's a cleanup, and one's just part of the wall that's a little bit different as far as the way that we're going to be setting it up. So a lot of this is pretty straightforward, as you might expect. We're just kind of building out the shape, building out the, doing the architecture and stuff, the architecture craft, because these walls do feature an absolute ton of architecture craft, an absolute ton of chisels and bits, just patterns that have to be put on for certain things. And we're actually going to be speed building out a fairly large segment. Now, I'm mainly going to be focusing on basically that corner there. But I actually ended up cutting out a lot of speed build footage and just kind of focusing on that corner bit, because it's all really similar or the same across this whole wall segment that we're going to be building today. But with the speed that I'm running it at, like I said, it's 60 times or more in some cases, except for the last two little segments. They're a little bit slower, and that's because we're doing a little bit different things, and it would be really, really fast to have it at 60 times in that case. But for the most part, it is 60 times or more, so realistically I couldn't show all of the speed building, because I'm moving from one segment of the wall down to the next, basically focusing generally on one specific thing as far as the detail work, because we have so many little bits of sky stone and so many little bits of great wood, and so many bits of hardened stone that have to go down through there. So I would pick a thing and just kind of follow through down the line. Like for example, right here, I'm working on these little bits that kind of stick out. So I'm going to be working on those wall segments all the way down. We'll take a closer look, a better look at the end of the episode as to kind of the size of everything that we did. But I will say it took a massive amount of time. Like I said, I've got over 20 hours of footage, some of which I didn't include, of course, because it was, I would cut, say I had like 2 hours of footage. I'd speed it up to 60 times. I'd end up cutting off a few little bits here and there because it would be me working off screen, and realistically I couldn't get the camera over to there in a fluid motion before the building was already done. So it was like, oh, I'll just cut that off. So I had about 20 hours of footage or so, and then in addition I had a lot of off-camera time. Sometimes when I just go through and do a little bit of cleanup work that maybe I didn't have the materials for when I was doing the speed build, because of course with 1.12 you can't pause recordings and resume, so you have to completely exit out the pack and then re-enter it, kind of to stop and start speed buildings or speed build footage segments. So it's a little bit more of a pain in 1.12. Not to mention editing it was super jittery, because at the speed that I was running it, it was like the speed build mod just didn't handle it very well at that speed. So it was like whenever I was trying to edit it, it would be like, my character would be building something and then it would like frame skip like 15 seconds ahead, and it was really a pain to edit this. So I went pretty simple with the editing, but like I said, we're pretty much just building wall segments. But I know it's kind of fun to watch this kind of stuff in super fast speed as it kind of comes together. Now in addition, I had a ton of off-camera time getting things together, getting materials together. We definitely need a great wood farm. I'm tired of farming that. So that is something I would like to get done, because we do use like hardened stone. Of course, we've got a farm for that. Skystone, we've got that farmable. I don't have a technical farm set up for it, but we do have seeds made for that, and we do have them planted. But we do need a bigger setup, I think, for Skystone, because I did struggle a little bit with Skystone. Ended up having to go get some meteors and things like that. And then Great Wood, of course, we do not have a farm for it. We do have 6 times wood processing. We could get more, I think. So it does go pretty far, but it did entail me going out and getting a bit of Great Wood. At least it's not something like Silver Wood, where it'd be a little bit more painful to go out and actually farm that. Great Wood's decently common, but it's becoming more and more scarce in close proximity to our base, I will say that. But yeah, and then it was a little bit of limestone, a little bit of steel, little things like that, some iron, some glowstone, but for the most part it was the big material costs, Skystone, Great Wood being the big things. I did run out of hardened stone once in our auto system, but it quickly filled back up. It's not really a big concern. I will probably increase the buffers on that, because whenever I use hardened stone, I tend to use a lot of hardened stone. And of course, we're not done with wall segments, but I will say that what we get done today is a huge dent into our walls, our total walls that we need to build. At least these walls. We'll have smaller walls. I'm planning some smaller wall segments outside of the base, and then we'll have some small wall segments within the base as well. But as far as our big, massive, super king walls that we've got going here, as I know a couple people have mentioned, they're like Attack on Titan walls, just these huge, massive walls that we have built. And we did put a very large dent. Like I said, we haven't done the exterior wall yet, which I'll show in at the end. But we did get the interior. The interior is actually the worst of the wall segments. The top, not too bad, but we do go ahead and knock out the top and get that out of the way. A bit of cobblestone on the top, but of course cobblestone, we have that on farm as well. But I wanted to get these wall segments done in this corner, because we're actually going to be working in this corner a little bit in the upcoming episodes. We're going to be working on our Enderman fluid automation so that we can work on the big magic building that we've got. We're going to be working on some cleanup things, some roads, some pathways over in this corner. With the base being as large as it is, I kind of have to pick little areas and do small projects, and then get little things done here and there that are kind of high priority things that we actually need as far as progression and automation, and then clean up a little bit here and there sort of thing, which we do tackle a little bit of cleanup this episode, something that we've had set up for a long time, but it was never finished out, basically because the top of it just wasn't done, and I hadn't really found any time to get it done. I do need to get on the immersive engineering building here soon, the little fuel building that we've got, and finish that out, the one that has our presses. I haven't yet, partially because we've been working on other projects, but partially because of just convenience sake, because it's really, really easy to pop over there and make presses, press metals and things. But we're going to be moving into automation. You notice how it flickers like that? That's because I go out of range a lot. And I've noticed that with the amount of architecture craft that we've got, it seems like it doesn't want to render it if I go very far away. Sometimes, like a good ways away. I mean, if I'm at a distance looking at it, it's going to render, but if I fly off somewhere else, sometimes it will stop rendering a little bit, so it'll kind of cut in and out. And I think part of it is the replay footage. I can't really see it unrendering too easily when I'm actually playing, but I think part of it is replay maybe doing that. So it does flicker a little bit. I don't know of any way that I can fix that, in all honesty. So in some cases, especially when I'm working on great wood, is whenever I run over to that tower to gather great wood, because of course I've got it running through that manufactory over there. Did run into some power issues with that, because of course we're only running off the windmill, but I really just need to get that moved over to our first tech building over there, our first big tech center building, and actually just get it all automated, get great wood automated, and keep it stocked, I think, because we do use a lot of it. So, but you can see right here, I've been working on the upper sections of the walls. The actual speed build footage, what you just watched was like 15-16 hours of footage, but of course, like I said, it's super sped up, just because it takes a bit of time to do these walls. Like realistically, it does. Like I said, you can, if you use something like building gadgets or something like that, you can speed it up a little bit. But I like building, and I don't want to make that automatic. That just takes a lot of the fun out of it. Even something like this, it's just like a massive undertaking. But honestly, I have fun doing these walls, and when every little bit of the wall segment that I got done, and every little bit of the detail work that I got done, when I'd back up, it was just like, it was such a good feeling, because you're starting to see that color and that contrast kind of come across those walls. And I really liked, the first little segment of wall that we actually finished, but it was right behind the storage building, and it was very centralized just to that location. There wasn't finished walls anywhere else, and it was something that I've been wanting to get to, because I think at a distance, and especially when I'm actually walking and not flying, they're just really impactful to look at, I think, because they are so massive, and they do stand so tall and everything, and really kind of bring together the base. But we really need to start populating this space out with buildings. We've done a lot of work on the exterior. We still have a lot of work to do on the exterior with the farms and stuff. But I do want to start getting a bit more of the buildings on the interior done. That's why I want to, next episode, set up our ender fluid little building. And then, and then go from there and start working on getting some of this populated out, because we do have a large space, but right now there's not a ton of stuff in it, and it's something that I want to work on. So, because like I said, this is more of our building series, and I want it to be big and lots of stuff going on. And with the walls, I mean, I think we've definitely gotten big down pat, but we got to work on just populating everything out. And I do want to build the gatehouse for our first gate, which is the one over there by the farms. That's one of the gates for the base. There is going to be more gates, of course, not just a single one. But I do want to start working on that gatehouse and getting that putting in. That's pretty much where our wall building ended off. And I didn't finish out the tower next to that because it's going to be a little bit different, because it is going to have the gatehouse there that sits above that gate. So we will work on that. I'm thinking about actually setting that up with a gate that opens, like a redstone gate that opens. I think it would be quite nice. Now you'll notice right there I got attacked by a compressed creeper and fended him off without any explosions. But I came down here because what we're going to be building is this little waterway. And whenever I was building out the walls, I noticed that, you know, I had built just a sample waterway opening, and I need to shrink it down slightly because the way that the pillars there, the chiseled pillars, come down. So we're going to be working on that little waterway segment. It's not going to be anything super fancy because, I don't know, we might long-term come back through and make it something that opens with redstone, but it's probably not, because it's not really an opening that we're going to be using. The gates are different. I do want those to open with redstone. And I am probably, after I built this, I kept looking at it, and I think I'm going to come back through and do chisels and bits to make water that goes down so that the iron bars can go all the way down, but so can the water. Because if I run just straight iron bars down, it's going to break up the water and make it this weird space where it holds back the water magically. I definitely don't want that, but I'm probably going to come through and do chisels and bits water and chisels and bits with some kind of iron texture and just run those bars down so that they actually set into the ground. But I am going to do some work on the ground there and kind of shape it up probably. So I'm going to wait until I do that when I work on kind of the lake and everything. So that's a little bit slower than 60 times footage, but I did just want to show that because we did get that added in and we hadn't built it yet. So something a little bit different. And then we're going to be working over here where our coal automation setup was. It's not, you know, it's not currently running. Of course, we don't really need it running at this point because we do have a quarry going. But I wanted to finish out, you know, we're going to keep this building. It's going to stay here. It's just probably not going to do anything. And it's just going to be kind of like a small little watchtower. Probably lore-wise, probably built before the large wall segments were. I would imagine, but, you know, because it would probably be a bit taller. I didn't want to make it too tall, that's, you know, right here, because if I made it too tall, it would actually come pretty close to our floating astral islands that are up there. And so I wanted to avoid that. I didn't want to make it, you know, those are supposed to be like floating up high, and I didn't want it to be coming in close at all to those. That's another area that I want to work on. We have the means to do that now since we have pushed Britannia, but it's just, it all comes down to time. You know, there's so much to work on in this series and lots of jumping around to do, and so it's just whenever we get around to it, kind of like the wall segments. I'd been wanting to work on those for a while. It's just finding the right time to do it. Now, as far as continuing out the other wall segments, we might do it as another speed build. At some point, if I get a hankering to work on hours and hours and hours of walls, or I might just do a segment here and there. I don't know how I'm going to handle that, because we do still have a bit of walls to build because it is a very large base, but we'll see. So, but yeah, this little area is pretty simple, but I tried to add a bit of contrast, a bit of detail into it just to kind of make it pop and make it a little bit unique compared to you know, the other stuff around it. The little immersive building over there, I want to work on that really bad. Probably here soon, but I do want to get back on the magic building and start working on that because I'm really excited about working on that building, honestly. Okay, so we got a very large chunk of stuff done. Of course, these I had set up, I wanted to mention these I had set up a bit back, but of course this like area here isn't done. We're going to actually hit that up before too long, but these are actually going to have two buildings that rise up, and I really need to get those buildings built, figure out how tall they're going to sit before I actually finish that little segment out. But as you can see over here, we actually got a lot done. In addition to actually adding a little bit to these that were already done, like the windows and stuff, to those segments, and you can see that it kind of goes out, winds that corner there, comes out through here. Of course, there is our little gate area. I think I added a couple small things like a gargoyle and stuff to this, but that's our little waterway that kind of runs out there, and then it continues on down through here and comes all the way over to where the gatehouse is going to be. Now there's a couple things I will probably add, like you know, some stuff down through here, but I need to see how the kind of building out here shapes up a little bit This is actually as low as the lowest segment over there in the finished segment. And we're probably going to have some stuff that sits up against the wall, maybe little storage areas or something like that, as we begin working on decorating and building out this corner bit that sits through here. Easily thousands and thousands of skystone. Even though we were getting, 8 times with these cornice pieces, but it's so much skystone. It's ridiculous. And then we did work on the upper wall segment and kind of getting all this built out. Now this little corner is not done, but I have a plan for a kind of lift that sits against this corner. Is kind of what I'm thinking. So I haven't, I haven't bothered finishing that out because it's going to be a little bit different. It'll be something that we spend a little bit of time on building. There is some visual bugs with immersive engineering that you'll notice, like where this kind of breaks off, and it does the same thing on this side. I've mainly noticed it on that wall segment too, so I don't know. The rest of these show the wire pretty well, I think. We still have the interior of the towers and probably a little bit of detail work like around in here that needs to be done, but we'll tackle that in due time. And of course this tower I did not finish. You can see I placed a few things here, but as far as the shape of this, it's going to be a little bit different because it's going to be a gatehouse that sits above this gate segment. So it's going to be shaped a little bit different, where these two towers are more connected instead of having the open wall segment. And then on the reverse side, you can see we didn't really get all this done, but that's fine. This doesn't take as long, in my opinion, to do as the interior. It didn't on the first wall, and we were coming up with it then, and I don't think it will on the whenever I go through and add all of this. The worst part being, I think, the chisels and bits that's over here, which is like this little segment there, but overall not too bad. And we do have these already laid out. All these little bits of the roof that kind of pop out is where one of those kind of archer holes are going to be. So quite a few of those to build, but they should go pretty quick once we start building them, I think, and getting this outer wall done. And there will be some alterations, some adjustments here once we get up close to this, because it's going to be a little bit different, but it is meant to be kind of tucked up against this wall here. So we'll tackle that here soon. And I'm thinking of having some sort of a small service entrance over here near the farm. But we'll tackle that when it comes up. I think it will probably be up around in here, perhaps. But I don't know. I haven't really sat and thought about that too much, or how I want to handle that. If I want a service entrance, since we aren't technically very far away from the gate, maybe even just flatten, kind of work out this terrain and have it come in to that agriculture gate that's there. But we'll see. We shall see. But you can really tell the height of these towers when you look at this, the agriculture center that's over here, and it was actually pretty tall. So they still kind of sit well above that building, I think. So, but yeah, so we got all of that built. Huge segment of wall knocked out all in one fell swoop, I think. Massive amount of time, and it was indeed tiring. But it was good. It was good to get it knocked out, and it's nice to kind of be able to sit back and enjoy the fact that we do have a huge chunk of the wall segment. You can see here on the wall, on the map here, you can see the wall that kind of runs through. So a big chunk of that done. If I was to do, maybe like 3 more pushes like that, we could get the majority of our walls done. But I'd still be looking at a lot of hours spent doing this for sure. Over here, of course, this building has been set up for a very long time, but unfinished. I think I added a couple things since the speed build, just odd and end little things. I did make a little banner here. This is with Ice and Fires, Troll Tusk, and Silver Dust to make the border there. And then it's just a purple and gray banner. I was just kind of messing around. That's the one I ended up making. I was like, all right, I'm going to stick it there. It's not necessarily like a base banner or anything like that, but it's going on that tower. But you can see lots of little detail work. I think I might have added these as well since the speed build. I can't remember. and if I had already shaped up these slightly or not. But yeah, just kind of following the same pattern, lots of skystone kind of poking out, to kind of, since we are using the majority of our base is hardened stone, you know, I want to bring in that skystone a lot, to kind of contrast against that gray there, and make little things pop while still making everything feel really, really clean, and not mixing it like, say, mixing hardened stone with cobblestone or smooth stone or something like that, because it's not really the kind of build I think I want to do. A whole lot of contrast with totally different block families. I don't think so. Kind of bringing in the contrast with architecture craft inches and bits instead. By the way, if you're curious about, if we pop in, of course this middle room isn't really done in this, and that used to have a barrel, but the barrel got moved somewhere. I don't remember where I moved it to. But these are still turning even though the ceiling is put in. I'd actually mentioned this back on our first go around with Enigmatica, because I was going to have all of my astral sorcery stuff way underground down in the cave segment, and I had a few people ask how I was going to do it, and I had mentioned it, you know, back then, how I was going to go about doing that. But you can see these can still see the sky. They can still turn and everything. They're not blocked from the sky. And the way that is handled is simply architecture craft. So if we come through here, most of these slabs are great wood slabs from Thermalcraft, but there it is. You can see that some of these slabs are architecture craft. These sit right above our windmills and our wind generators, and they keep them turning. Now, for example, if I was to switch this with, say, Thermalcraft great wood, we put that on there, you're going to notice that the wind generator then stops. So there's a few different mods that its blocks don't blot out sky, you know, sightlines to sky. Architecture craft is one. Another one is chisels and bits, and I think little tiles as well, and I'm sure there's a few others, you know, but those are some examples, and you can pretty much do any kind of block with those, right? So easy ways to kind of keep your stuff, you know, give it that sightline to the sky without it actually having a sightline to the sky. These are mainly just so that you can see them turning. They do produce power, of course, for the setup that we don't use anymore. But just so if you're looking through the window, you can kind of see some motion in there. Those turning inside of there is really their only purpose. So, of course, like I said, this isn't running, so it's just hanging out is all it's doing. But yeah, so that's what we worked on. It was, like I said, a ton of time. I hope you guys enjoyed it. It does put a good dent into our to-do list for this build, but it's still a long ways to go, I think. So, like I said, next episode, I'd like to work on the ender fluid creation for this building that's over here, because it does need it. A lot of the contrast and what makes this building, or what is going to make this building really pop, is getting that ender fluid that runs down through these canals around here, as well as flowing out in some spots. So I'd like to get that, and at least get a lot of the ender fluid placed for this building, and then that way we can start getting back over into this building and doing a lot of cleanup work over here, and getting our magic, kind of our magic center started and setting up inside of there. So, but I hope you guys enjoyed the episode. I don't know, honestly, at this point, I don't know exactly when I'm going to post this video. I'll have it done and uploaded probably before Christmas, but I think I'm going to post it after Christmas, because I don't really want to post anything like a day or two right before Christmas or a day or two right after Christmas. So I'm not sure. With Christmas, I know a lot of people are going to be busy, a lot of people are going to be gone, so I don't want to, you know, just post something in the middle of a big holiday like that I think most people are probably celebrating. And with that, I do want to say happy early or late Christmas, depending on when I post this. Merry Christmas and happy holidays to everybody. But I hope you guys enjoyed it. We should be back on track, I think, for Enigmatica. I know I had some questions. I always get these if I don't post Enigmatica for like a week or two, which I think it's been like a month or 2 months or something since the last episode. I'm not sure, but I usually get questions about if it's ended, and it's like, no, it's not ended. It's just I'm busy and don't have hours and hours and hours to sit to actually be able to focus in and build. I mean, in a lot of cases, I only have like an hour or two to actually get anything done Minecraft related in a given day. with everything going on. So that's why we kind of focused on compact claustrophobia, because there's not a lot to that. It's pretty straightforward. So, but with that, anyways, we are going to end out this episode here. I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you did, as always, be sure and hit that like button and go ahead and subscribe if you're not already, to stay updated with when new videos come out. And I hope to see you guys next time. So until then, as always, do take care, stay safe. I will see you guys then.